Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our sponsor spotlights for the Black Insurance Industry Collective. Today, we have with us Martin South, who is the president and CEO of Marsh, as well as the vice chair of Marsh & McLennan. Thank you so much, Martin, for joining us today. How are you? How are you today?
Amy, I'm great, thank you. We've had a good year. Despite all the anxiety in the world, I feel good today, which is about all you can say these days, right?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm so looking forward to this conversation to learn more about your DEI initiatives. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So can you just tell us about yourself and your role at Marsh?
Sure. That's an easy thing to ask a man, is that I can talk all day, but I'll try not to. I'm going to give you some points because actually who I am is a very big part of why this is a very important subject to me. So I'm going to try and be and call out some things that have made me who I am, and ultimately a believer in inclusion beyond anything. So I'd say overall brand, I'm a bit of an outsider. Okay, I was born in East Africa. My parents are different nationalities. I went to boarding school in the UK, but spent a lot of my childhood living in different countries, including Iran, and other places. So I grew up a very international background. I wasn't rooted in one particular culture or another. And I kind of grew up feeling just like I don't quite fit everywhere, right? A little bit. Okay, it's just I don't get the joke sometimes. I then, from a career standpoint, I've continued with that international journey. I love the global stage that I'm privileged to lead here. I've worked for Marsh and for Zurich, an insurance company, in different roles in different geographies. I've lived and worked in the UK, in Switzerland, in Singapore, in Australia, and in North America. I've been responsible for businesses in Latin America and Europe. I've lived pretty much everywhere, and in many parts of my career, I've often been, the only English speaking person in the room, and maybe the only person who's white, in the room with a yellow or brown or black people in there. I've been like the odd one out. So I have some understanding, Amy, and I don't want to make a big deal of this. I have some understanding of what it means to not get the rules, not understand all the issues. And I found it actually most testing when I came to America in lots of ways, because everybody assumed that I was kind of an insider. And I said when I came here, look, I don't even know if the Pittsburgh Steelers is a ice hockey team or a football team. I have no idea. I know they're a sports team, but I don't know. So I don't have the juice, and I needed to learn the rules of engagement. And you make grave assumptions about the way people speak and the fact that they speak a language to understand the culture in the place. And at first I didn't. So and bringing the best of an organization together means trying to put myself in the shoes all the time of people. So there's an inclusion, and there's a race bit that's embedded in that. But I'll also share with you, from a gender perspective, there's another angle here that I have been blessed with 5 beautiful children. 2 of them are non-binary, and doing their own path. They're all good. My wife is the CEO of a global organization and has a very busy life. And so we know what it's like to sort of juggle, work-life balance. And, at the beginning of each month, we have a contest between our assistants to see who can block out which days and who's traveling when. and we're both, lean into being parents. So we get to a degree what it's like to manage, complicated flexibility issues that are embedded in, the workforce that have been causing people problems for a long time, particularly around the gender piece. And then, four of my kids are women, and I want them to be successful. I want them to reach for the stars. And so, so on every level, whether it's sort of gender, race, inclusion, all that, I've seen and felt a little bit of what it's like when you have inflexible, rigid environments that don't bring the best of the organizations together. So that's a very positive history of me. I mean, the roles that I've done when I was here, I've run North America, I ran Asia Pacific region, I ran Europe in the UK. When I was at Zurich, I ran the London operations, and my last assignment there was running their international business, property casualty,
Wow.
and so I've had different, just different roles around the industry, and so that's a little bit about me. I would consider myself a people person. I'm lucky working in an insurance broking risk advisory business. It's not like working in an insurance company, in the sense that 55-60% of our revenue are people costs. In an insurance company, you've got about the same, but they happen to be loss costs. And so they're more numbers games, and they're more balance sheet driven businesses, I would argue, than a professional services firm like the one that I'm privileged to lead. It's all about people in our business. And so, and in any big organization, you have often complicated and often Byzantine organizational charts. That's not how organizations work. Organizations run on culture, how people work together, how they collaborate, how you get the best of people together. And of course, that goes straight to, belonging and how you feel about the organization. Can you show up and be the person that you are? And then I take it further as well, that in the risk business, our job is to advise clients about what's around the corner. What are the things that could happen to their business, to have a point of view on that. And in order to be relevant and in order to really make an impact, you need to listen to the small voices at the outside and listen to what they're saying. I'll give you an example. Pre-pandemic, in late 18 and early 19, we worked on a solution for pandemic. Okay. And we partnered with a modeling organization in the West Coast. We partnered with a big reinsurer to develop a pandemic solution that we felt would be very interesting to some of our clients. If you went back in a time machine now, pre-COVID, and you put COVID out of your mind, there were enough people saying a pandemic is coming. Bill Gates was out there. When I was at Zurich, I was responsible for the Asia life insurance business when SARS hit, and I saw what happens to an organization. Life insurance you have to sell. I had a personal experience with it, but a lot of other people hadn't. And there are lots of other examples where I've been in meetings where people say, well, what about this thing here? And people go, no, that's not the received wisdom. The benchmark says it's not going to happen. And benchmarks are, in some ways the antithesis of what it means to be inclusive and to listen to people. And so, to me, if you've got a big part of your workforce that doesn't feel that their voice matters or they're important or have anything to say, and they're not going to be listened to, you're going to be a worse organization. So I start there at the most basic level, around trying to create a culture where people can speak up. It's in I'd like to say it's in my DNA. And I know we're very focused on race and specifically on Black people in the industry. Like, why double down on this, right? That's why are we doing this? And I hadn't appreciated, not coming from the United States, really kind of almost what a taboo issue and how difficult race was, how difficult it was to talk, to navigate, to deal with, and how a lot of our colleagues and people in the industry felt that they couldn't look up and see in the organization people that looked like them leading organizations.
Right.
And it was, it shouldn't have been a wake up call, but I do think that really the events, and our commitment, by the way predated, the Floyd matters because of our, what we were doing with Naya and our journey to really invest in that and to deal with it. But I think for a lot of people, the inequity and the way that society was structured in some respects, came back to just, people could feel it at that time. Justice of that brutal act seemed to galvanize a sense of unfairness that hit everybody at the same time. So, whilst we had been focused on this throughout, there was a step change, I think, in people's psyche around that time, and we as an organisation felt we should speak out, and then so we want to make a difference here. I think it's great for our firm. It's great for our industry. This is a brilliant industry to be in. And by the way, I'm declining to use the insurance industry as the industry that defines us. We're in the risk business. Insurance is sometimes the answer to our clients' problems. And so, it's another reason. So I'll stop talking there for a moment.
I absolutely loved your answers and just like your insight on, just DEI in general, and your background just makes it even more interesting. So even with, acknowledging that, with the organizational chart, we need to look at the culture and also looking at the broader DEI instead of just focusing on race. And I think that, as we move forward as a society, we need to put our minds on there's race, there's gender, there's religion, there's so many things, so many aspects. It's very broad, but I appreciate you for even, mentioning that. And then with, the murder of George Floyd and, immediately stepping into action and, pretty much realizing like, okay, what don't I know? What do I know? What can I say? What can I say? So I definitely appreciate that, as well as your support of VIIC.
It's a time for a little bit of people to reflect. And until, we've reached a level of diversity and inclusion that really reflects the societies that we're supporting, or should reflect the societies that we're responding, that we've got work to do. We really do. And so for me, this is a really great thing to get behind and to sponsor.
And we definitely appreciate it. And you mentioned, of course, your support for BIIC and your supportive ways of just being, before the social justice initiatives happening, how Marsh was already on it. Just speaking of Marsh in general, does Marsh currently have any like internal initiatives that focus solely on Black workforce executives or, gender specific? What other initiatives are you all doing?
It does. We have a number of specific things. One, we measure it. We do culture surveys. We look at this the whole time where we can. So I think it's part of being honest with ourselves about it. But we have a number of things. I'll talk specifically here about race. One, we have a program called RISE, which stands for Racial Inclusion and Social Equity. It's a fellowship program done in partnership with Fisk University, where we have a program for Black MBA students and master's candidates, and it's looking at how they can come into our industry and make an impact in that. So we've had that running, and we chose that school because they really we thought they had the credentials and hunger to to do it. So we have that. We have an accelerated Black leadership program, which includes mentorship for professionals in our business. We have a race advisory council staffed by our senior leaders, to advise people on that in the business. And at the most granular level, specifically in North America, we are very, very mindful about the people that we bring into our business. Mm-hmm. Have our strategy, our talent strategy revolves around basically growing our own talent and from promoting from within where we can. Now, we're always going to bring in horizontal hires who, can drive growth or capability or skills. And, particularly in the last couple of years when our two biggest competitors are coming together, we use an opportunity to do a lot of hiring there. But for the most part, our strategy is to hire people from the bottom, because then you can be very, very clear about the mix. And in the last graduate program that we had in early career entry into Marsh, 78% of the colleagues joining the firm were diverse by one metric or another, whether by race, gender, and so forth. And we know that we've got to index in that way, because if we're going to get the numbers going up the organization, we need to start with a bigger fund. And so we start there. And we make a big deal of that, and then we continue to measure as we go up through the grades how we're doing. We don't have targets and quotas. That's not the way it is. But you need to keep yourself honest. And the reason why I think the measurement thing is very important is when you're doing talent review meetings, which we do for people that sit in our talent grids. Every mm-hmm. company have like a talent grid. You in the upper right hand, high potential, high performing, or some variation of that, or a core employee. But we wanted to, as we have those discussions, you've got to get leaders top to bottom in your organization always calling out that, are you overlooking people because of this or that? Or are you using words that can be damaging without even thinking about it? Like, I'll use a gender example, but you could use the same examples with other things here. Like, oh, this person here, yeah, she's great, but she's very aggressive. She's like, super aggressive. Yeah, maybe she just needs to round things out. Whereas, of course, if that was a man, it would be fantastic. That's exactly what you want. So there's just pejorative language that's used, and calling that out and having the culture that starts to call those things out, whatever they are, and overlooking people who maybe are, less prone to shine their light, if you will, is part of it. And making sure that, if I'm chairing a meeting on promotions or that, we're talking about
right.
This.
I think that is so awesome. Just all the initiatives that you have going on. Denise has told me about the RISE program, partnering with Fisk University as an HBCU graduate. I'm always happy when, big businesses, organizations, or companies, see the value in our HBCUs. So my last question for you is, how do you see the mission and work of BIIC influencing the entire industry?
Well, it will give it focus. It will highlight successful people, case studies, examples. It will prod and poke leadership. Denise came to see me on Friday. She just walked straight into my office, it provides a reason to get visibility and focus, and it will. I think it will really help to be a safe place for people to talk. Denise was saying that there was a meeting recently where a bunch of people would get together. Obviously at Virginia, you had a safe place for you all to sit and to talk and to role model and to role play ideas and to share growth initiatives and so forth, and to to talk about all these things. It's important. It's important, and I think we'll make a real impact.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
The honor was mine. I mean, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
I think it's a great mission. I wanted to put in a good word for Denise as well. And she does great work from the first time I met her when she was at AIG, and leading the initiatives there, which we did combine with AIG. She's always been somebody that will pick subjects and issues that grab people's attention.
Once again, to our audience, we are with Martin South, President and CEO of Marsh, as well as Vice Chair of Marsh and McLennan. I'm Amy Cole-Smith, Director of Diversity at the Institute, and we will see you next time.
Terrific. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.